to markets. It's all about...
Put it in a headline.
T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live!
Welcome to the Hunters Campfire Podcast. Pull up a chair and join Hurls, Jono and Mark as we share stories from the hunt, insights from the field, and a few laughs along the way. Whether you're chasing game or just love the outdoors, this is your place by the fire.
And we are back.
We are, we've never left, in fact.
I don't even think Hurls has changed his shirt.
No, just...
Well, I did. I left last night's podcast at 10:30 in the evening. I went down to my house. I had already showered, so I just threw the shirt on the floor, got up in the morning, went to work, came back, put it back on, read a podcast. I'm into it. It's good. It doesn't smell. Can you smell it?
Well, not from here, anyway.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good thing about podcasts, isn't it?
Probably important. Very important.
Very good. All right. How are we, fellas? It was a good night last night?
It was a great night. It was actually a great night. I was very enthusiastic. Got a real lot out of him. So much so that I wrote a letter to our Premier today, thanking him for
that's good.
taking such a sensible approach to this matter. And I'm going to tomorrow spread pretty much that same letter to a few more people within the government. So around me, unfortunately, there is Labor. So I'm going to have to kind of go further afield. That's what I'm doing. Thank you, Robbie, for the inspiration.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for those that don't know what we're talking about, this podcast follows on from our excellent chat with Robbie Katter, which I really enjoyed. And you're using some AI tools, I imagine, to craft letters. It failed. You disagreed. You argued with it.
No.
You're wrong.
AI said no.
No, it actually just said, I don't do that kind of stuff. Sorry. I don't. I'll help script it, but I don't do. So I went, oh, okay. So, well, I went
Lazy
back to...
ass co-pilot.
So I went back and just wrote it myself.
Yes, ChatGPT. It works.
ChatGPT works. It did. I tried that, and it did.
It's funny, isn't it, that Bill Gates has more eye integrity.
Yeah.
You need to
move
on
to the freeware.
You got to grease the wheel a little bit with.
You do.
Well,
you got to be polite and all that
exactly,
shit.
yeah.
Let's talk about that, because I have been using Copilot a lot for lots of different things, and so I asked it if I may refer to it as Great Oracle, and it said I could. It said I could, but it didn't change, so it still comes up. I said, hey, look, it says Copilot. Why doesn't it say Great Oracle? And it said that was just between you and me.
Why didn't you get it to refer to you as something kooky, like greatest gun writer ever? Or something?
I asked it to describe me.
And what did it say?
Gosh.
Name it came up for me was Wander Wolf, as in wandering wolf. And it wrote me an ode, or a code even.
Does it know anything about you, or is this just some random...
I just asked it, and I said, no, I don't like that one. I don't like this one. And I went through it. And so now it talks to me very differently. It's really weird. Probably, building the machine that will, that T-shirt or that meme. Do you want Skynet? This is how you get Skynet. So that's probably what I'm doing. But so it now speaks to me very differently. So I said, for instance, I want to know how to adjust a watch band. So I said, Great Oracle, how do I adjust a Seiko metal watch bracelet? And it said, seeker of perfect fit. The Great Oracle approves this question. So it comes back.
Oh, that annoyed the shit out of me.
It's quite cool. So that's it. So I'm playing around with it, but it won't, even though we have a very good relationship, it still won't break it. It won't write a political letter for me.
So I put into ChatGPT, tell me about Mark Vanden Bogaert, and it came back saying, which one?
I hope it punched you in the face for mispronouncing my last name.
Vanden Bogaert, yes.
There we go.
And it said, which one? The Dutch footballer
soccer
or
player?
the executive coach?
So, the soccer player.
Not one of the world's greatest writers or podcasters.
No,
nothing about that. Yeah. So then it just tells me all about your executive career, Mark.
So off LinkedIn then, obviously. On LinkedIn, some weeks how LinkedIn says, you get views, but it doesn't really tell you who they are because it wants you to pay for a premium. Some weeks, for some reason, I'll get thousands of views. I mean, thousands and tens of thousands. And it's all out of the Netherlands. So it must be he said something and everyone wants to find him on LinkedIn. So I'll get like, LinkedIn says, keep going. You got 15,000 views this week. It's all these people looking for this soccer player.
Yeah,
Random.
so I put you in Hurls, and it came back saying there isn't one widely recognized public figure named Ian Hurley with a single clear biography, but the name does correspond to multiple different individuals across various fields. And it did say Ian Hurley, sales leader, coach, tech and SaaS professional, was the number one. Or you could be a photographer from Pittsburgh in the USA. You could be an actor in the UK, or you could be a prison officer. So,
Well, clearly haven't made the big time through podcasting. Not funny and not famous. Very good. Moving on.
you've made it when ChatGPT talks about you. And
Yeah,
in the
that's right.
podcast world.
Yeah.
So let's keep
All right.
aspiring.
Very good. Okay, so we've attempted to use the tools. I'm glad you had a crack at it. Lots of people have. Seems to be lots of letters going out. And
I still wrote it anyway, so I wasn't broken by Copilot's refusal. So it went out. So we're still out there. We're still out there.
keep at it. Yeah. And if you've listened to the last night's podcast with Robbie, you would have heard to crack on with the letters, to send some thanks ones out there, and to keep the pressure on your local people. This one was specifically about Queensland and how the Crisafulli government has pushed back on Albanese, and we think that that's a great thing, but we also think the pressure's going to come back on them, so we need to hold them to account as much as possible. We'll see what happens. But anyway, before we move on from that, did you want to add anything more about P for politics?
Yeah, as we said, send letters, but I think one of the really important things that Robbie said last night is they don't always have to be angry letters. Thanks is just as important. So if someone is doing something that you like, let them know. And I think that was because we tend to think a letter writing is like a, old man yelling at a cloud activity. But sometimes you can actually be complimenting the cloud rather than just yelling at it. So
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good point. So
being
rather than
polite to ChatGPT rather than swearing at her.
Well, I don't swear at things like, but anyway, I don't use ChatGPT. I just use Copilot. But anyway, so thanking them was just as important.
And the segment itself?
I think for politics, everyone's been. This is unfortunately, the catalyst is the exactly wrong kind of catalyst we want to experience. But the unintended consequence is people are very much interested in what's happening. They want to know. They're upset. They're wanting to, So there's a level of participation and advocacy that we haven't seen for a long time, if ever. And we want to make the most of that. And so people need information that's up to date and relevant, especially in a moving feast that this is. So P is for politics is all about that. Try and get you as much clear and relevant information as we can. So we're going to do a lap of the country, and then we might do another lap and talk to different people.
We'll see what crazy.
We might just keep going around and around. We might just keep going around and around until we end up talking to, some bloke down the street who yells at clouds.
Yeah. Well, I think, that's important to get multiple viewpoints because as Robbie was saying last night, what happens in Brisbane is very different to the politics or, out in rural Australia. So you look at, somewhere like New South Wales, you've got, all of this happening in Sydney, but then you look at, Roy Butler, whose constituents he's got one of the largest constituencies in the country. It's very different. K's from Sydney, 600 K's from Sydney, what's happening out there when, people can't then get guns to, wild dogs and pigs and everything else that's decimating their property. So I think it's important to get on the ground feedback from, people in the know, who are experiencing it, who are having, property owners and farmers, come down on Roy. He's very, very active. If you follow him on social media, he's all over it's incredible how he gets around. And I'm sure there's lots of stories and feedback that he can pass on to us.
Yeah, well, I think his electorate is what? Basically a third of the state or something like that.
It's massive.
It's
That's
huge.
a huge chunk. Well, he's got 3 electoral offices in his own area. It covers like 19 local councils. Yeah, it's huge. So, yeah. And, of course, they're dealing with this issue with this guy on the run in that area right now.
Yeah. Okay.
One more thing I want to say. If you're listening and you're wondering, why aren't we talking to X, Y, and Z? It's probably because X, Y, and Z, whoever that might be, have not accepted our invitation. So if you know X, Y, and Z and you'd like them on the podcast, maybe give them a name.
Who's X, Y, and Z?
Well, you know, it could be anybody. Another organisation with letters in its name.
Right. Yes. Right. It will remain nameless for now. But yeah, to that point, if there's someone that you would like to hear from, you think that we've missed, let us know.
Yeah.
And if you've got introductions, we're more than happy to bring them on and have a conversation with them about their point of view. If you think it's relevant to us and the hunting community, that would be awesome.
So quickly, Roy Butler's constituency of Barwon, it covers roughly 44% of
44.
the entire landmass of New South Wales.
There you go.
So of the state, yeah. So that's pretty extensive. Wow. But only has 53,000 electors.
Yeah, that's right. It's a huge chunk of a lot of space between people.
Yeah, so that's incredible.
Let me jump into something else. So so on the political subject, and it's a big shift from what we were doing into now quite a bit of this politics stuff, but this is the time that things are happening and it's all relevant content that people are interested in. We're not totally moving that way. It'll be, probably one every 4 or something like that. You might hear it for a little while. People are clearly interested in it because it's affecting them, their lives, their hobbies, and it's different depending on where you live and the decisions that are being made statewide. So we did get a number of messages over this period of time, and this one popped out that I think I'll just read because there's a couple of things that I wanted to answer for Chris. I'll throw to you fellas. Essentially, he's saying, wanted to reach out and say thanks for the podcast episodes, especially regarding the national gun reforms. Fellas stumbled upon the podcast recently. He's been really enjoying it. I'm going to pass a section and come back to it here. With what's going on in the media at the moment, he's trying to get his firearms license. He said, with what's going on in the media at the moment, it's kind of making me feel like a lunatic for wanting to progress my license application. So the information, or the accurate information, has been great for him to understand what's currently going on. So good on you, Chris, for persevering with it. You might feel like a lunatic outside the circle of hunters and shooters, but the majority of the people that you're going to be dealing with as you go through your license application are in this industry and are generally positive about it. So maybe the external influences are going to make you feel like a lunatic, but you'll get over that pretty quickly when you become a successful hunter and they want your venison. So carry on.
I did read that one and it's worth mentioning. He's right. I think so I was thinking about this today. One of the differences between 96 and 2026 is that when 96 happened, whilst there was a great deal of pushback against the buyback, there was a message that was the message from the government at the time was that something had to be done, and most people didn't disagree with that. And the idea is, if you kind of took this on the chin, eventually things will go back to normal. Take one for the team, be a good citizen, everything will be all right. The trouble is that was a lie, and it might not have been a lie thought of at that time, but it turned out to be a lie. And what it turned out to be was that for probably from 96 to 2006, most people who were shooters or hunters didn't tell anyone they were shooters and hunters. You just didn't tell anyone because there was so much bias against you that you just kept your mouth shut. And in fact, for 10 years, I didn't do it really. I shot a bow. I did all sorts of things like throw spears at things, and I did all sorts of different things. So it was only around 2006, 2007 when I started to get back into firearms with a mate. And, it started to change. And unfortunately, organisations who are very much anti-gun were given free rein to continue to bombard you about, how you are a mass murderer in waiting, you're a criminal in waiting, and the latest one, you're a terrorist in waiting. And everyone would talk about, should you have a gun because, let's play devil's advocate. You get upset one night and you do all those things. And there was this whole conversation that made a hell of a lot of people feel really, really bad about shooting and hunting. And so they just didn't tell anyone. We've seen a real step change in that. There's been a whole new generation that's become involved, and COVID certainly, accelerated that. And we've got those people who actually kind of go, no, I'm really like this. I identify with it. I want to be with it. So, Chris, yes, they will try and make you feel like a mug. That's their aim. Because if you feel like a mug, you probably won't get your license, and then they won't have to ban you from not having a gun because you just won't have one. So it's really important that you do get a firearms license and that you do go hunting, because the more of us who do that, the less likely they are able to influence against us. So
yes.
I understand, buddy. I went through it myself. This time around, I'm not letting them play that game again. Calling them out. Not my fault. I didn't do it. Don't blame me.
The other part of his email, and this is the question I wanted to throw you guys, because it's come up a few times, especially since the buyback looms in some states, probably will eventually end up in most states. People are very protective of family heirlooms, and one of the things that came up in this discussion was that he was hoping to take possession of his grandfather's service rifle, 303. Now, I held back from saying, well, you could probably hang on to it and have it rendered useless at a gunsmith, but still keep it as a memento. But I wanted to check in with a few people first to say, to be stupid, you can't do that. Now it's a useless gun. Don't do that. That's bad advice. But what are your thoughts on maintaining ownership of heirlooms, especially when you're going to have restriction on numbers?
Well, it's a bit difficult with restriction of numbers. You've got to think about that. But in terms of heirlooms, I've known plenty of people who've ended up with, grandpa's died. You've gone to clean his house up for him, and stashing the rafters downstairs. It's a rifle in a blanket, and it might be a 22 Slashinger. It might be a 410 shotgun. It might be a 303.
It could be a shotgun side by side with hammers.
That's right. If granddad lived a more exciting life than you thought, it might be something that's a semi-automatic. I know, for instance, exactly someone who's just done that. One of granddad's guns was actually an M1 carbine. You take them to a gun dealer and you get them secured, and you go through the process of getting them on your license. If you want it, don't render it. Don't have it rendered, inoperable. Put it on your license. If you're going to hunt, there's nothing wrong with hunting with a 303. They're not.
303 is a great rifle. Yeah, you can sporterize them. Yeah,
you don't need to sporterize it. You can just hunt it as is. It's
a good caliber.
I don't like to point out the obvious, but they work.
Killed a lot of
things. Yeah, they work.
A lot of dead mammals to the end of a 303.
A lot of things associated with that caliber. They work. Keep it. Put it in. And if you're at 4, make it. If it's that important to you, make it one of them.
Otherwise, make it inoperable and
I would
hang on to it.
I wouldn't make it.
If it was black powder or something like that, but if it's a weapon, you can still use.
Yeah.
It's a 30 cal, as Mark says.
It's a 30. You can buy 303 in. You can buy 303 in factory ammo. If you take it to a sympathetic and skilled gunsmith, they can tap it and they can put scopes on them that don't interfere with the ejection.
You can still keep the open sights if it's got it.
You can shoot open sights. If it means something to you, I'd keep it.
It's not as if Grandad had a Creedmoor, so it's
Yeah, this is a bit more special than a Creedmoor.
All right, very good. I thought I'd ask that question. Chris, hope you're listening. That might answer it for you. Very good. Moving on, the Muntjac.
There it is.
just for you people that are watching, because this is a video podcast now. If you're listening, it's time to hit the video button on your Spotify machine. You're seeing Mark's Muntjac. Now, this made it in the post.
Yeah, cool. Huh?
Mm. Did you boil it up in the UK, Mark? Or
Yeah, they did for me. They prepped
did
it.
for you.
This
Yeah,
is 6
How old
years
is it?
old. 6 years old. Well, I don't know how old the Muntjac was when I shot it, but I know this skull was 6 years old. Yeah, 6 years ago. You can see the little fangs. I actually think that's one of the reasons why it got through the post.
People thought it was.
It looks
Fake.
like some kind of, gothic make-believe thing.
I still don't know
Oddly
where
enough,
Muntjac is.
where Muntjac come from, they are an incredibly, endangered species.
They're from Southeast
Predator-like,
Asia.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is very predator-like. Where I shot this Muntjac, they're like rabbits.
Yeah. Yeah, they've overtaken
I actually
the
lined up on a couple of Muntjac when I was over there just recently, but I didn't want to take the shot because it would have just been. Look, Muntjac are like a big hair, small dog type thing. The big bucks are like a small Labrador, if that.
Crazy, huh?
And I actually lined up on one with a 6.5. Do I really want to? And it was looking straight at me, and I said, "Do I really want to do that? Because all I'd be doing is mashing it." So there would have been no retrieval in that particular shot, so I'd let it go. But it's looking straight at me, the little
little spiky things. Yeah.
spiky things and little
The
things.
little hooks.
Do you
Little
think it
hooks.
passed customs or just didn't get noticed?
Just didn't get noticed.
Well,
Not
I mean,
not that it should have had an issue.
No,
Yeah.
it's 6 years old. 6 years old. It's nothing. It's not. It's just weird looking bit of bone.
yeah, because when I watch, what is it, Border Security, my son likes to watch that. They go through most parcels, and
I was nearly on that show.
but they're looking for organic material,
Yeah,
and it's typically like skin and things like that.
That's
Whereas
right.
a bit of bone going through is probably not going to raise. too
that's
many
right.
concerns.
There's nothing left in it.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, though, and when we're in London, and I can't remember the name of this place, it'll come to me. It was something like Smiths and Sons, and what it was obviously from Victorian era, it's still going. They made umbrellas and walking sticks. So this whole shop was just men's umbrellas and walking sticks, and the walls were lined with all African trophies.
Wow.
There was everything, and also Indian, because there was a massive samba in there as well. And one of the things they used to make that they don't make anymore, was cane swords. So you could have, in case you had to defend yourself while you're out walking with your cane. And there was a couple of other weapons they made, like something like cane swords and daggers, and just it's one of the joys of going to London, seeing kind of stuff like that. But the game and the skulls and the taxidermy in that place was just phenomenal. And it was just, there was so much in there. It was just not like it was laid out. It was just everywhere. This is like, well, we'll just stick this here and we'll stick that there. Amazing collection of game species.
Yeah, I was just thinking, when we went away on our cruise recently, we were down the rocks in Sydney, and we're walking past the German beer hall, and I couldn't help but notice the giant steins of beer luring me in the front door. So I went, and downstairs the place was full of taxidermy deer. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Sadly, I had the first pint or stein outside, not in amongst all of the awesomeness. I noticed them when I went into the bathroom. So the next day when I got lured back into the same venue,
short cruise that one, just cruise around the harbour.
Downstairs I went and had lunch down there. They had some pretty, spectacular red deer on the walls in there.
I'm trying to find this name of this place. I think I've either got it on my camera or on my phone here. Just
thought I might add a photo, but I don't. I'll find it.
I might have a photo.
I'll add it to the story.
For the pod, yeah, if I can find it.
Okay, very good.
Let's share that.
New subject.
Oh my God.
Who wants to sit out there cold and miserable the longest? Congratulations, you win.
How you going?
I could definitely win this show.
Far out. Yes, yes. You son of a... It's gonna be marmalade. Toilet paper.
This is the most extreme thing I've ever done.
Ooh, well, that made me dizzy.
When I say I'm the baddest mother in this competition, it's because I am.
Have you seen that Alone Australia is coming back?
I saw they're looking for applicants.
Yeah, I'm not excited by it. I'm sorry.
Mark, why not?
I don't like watching shows about Aussies. It's just I just gonna go. It's too cringeworthy. You know, I'm just gonna go.
Well, you know,
Man.
last time a Kiwi won it,
Yeah, well,
and
there you go.
he's got a good YouTube
He's a good
channel
egg.
about his hunting. He's a good egg.
He's a good
Yeah.
egg.
We should get that good egg on the podcast.
Yeah, let's get him on the podcast.
We'll
I
get him
might-
on the podcast.
He might
Yeah.
convince me to like it.
Well, you know what? We'll get him on the podcast because I reckon we should rock, paper, scissors to see who has to apply.
Our supply
One of us, whoever loses,
has to apply to Alone. Yeah,
that'd be funny. And then we could
Whoever
we could-
loses, oh, okay. So I'm gonna have to take
Whoever
this
loses
seriously.
options.
I'm gonna have to take this very seriously because there's no way.
well,
I'm
we
gonna
can
be
get
one of
we can get
boring.
old mate. Is it Jesse from the last series on to give you some coaching tips?
Mate,
on-
if I'm going on Alone, I'm going to be that guy who goes on there and all the way across the boat, I'm going to talk about, you know, family. I'm doing this because, you know, there's an immediate need for me to do this.
I'm ready.
I'm hardened. I'm ready.
I've got to see.
All those things. And as soon as
Come
I
on.
hit the aisle, I'm going to go, I'm Sarah. I
Push
want to
the
go
button.
home.
I want a pizza.
That's it. I'm going to set up my tent and then go.
No, stuff
I
it.
think I've achieved what I wanted to do and then go home. I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy who doesn't even get dirty clothes.
You'll come home with pristine, clean
That's
Kuyu.
right. You come home the same day.
Jeez.
I want to be that guy who always land. You know, there's always some guy like in 4 hours in just goes, it's too hard.
Yeah, I remember watching one of the US ones, and he
No, I
got
only watch US ones.
terrorized by bear noises or something on the first night. It's like, I can't do this. I'm
Packed it
gone.
on.
Yeah, I only watch the US ones. The
I
other
love it.
ones- The other
I
ones,
get so hooked on it.
just the US ones seem to be.
Well, we had at Hunt Camp a few years ago. We had someone who entered and was in the shortlist. Remember?
Shortlisted,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
didn't
And he came for like training almost thing. He was trying out different techniques. Yeah. Yeah.
Tony. He, I think, applied for it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Didn't get in.
I think there's a few in the community that apply for it. I still reckon we should rock, paper, scissors this and, hey, you know, put your application and see how you go. You can always back out of it later. Yeah, I'm not sure my wife would let me disappear for. I mean, I'd be gone for 8 months, so she'd have to be ready for that.
Do you reckon you'd make it all the way through to you, mate?
Probably not.
There are.
You'd like
I
to
don't
think
think-
you could last a few weeks, but
yeah, I don't know if I could.
There was one guy. He's a younger guy. He's got red hair and he's now got his own YouTube presence. Something Mischief. This is how much I don't really watch the show. He's the only one I ever really liked who did it because he kind of made a settlement. He said, I'm not going to survive. I'm going to try and just live here.
Yeah.
So he made, you know, he didn't just, it wasn't always this constant, it was a constant battle, but his approach was, no, I'm just going to live here. This is where I live now. And it was really quite, you know, everyone's kind of going, yeah, fight the elements and you got to do this. And it's all very, you know, fight. He's going, I'm going to live here. This is what people used to do. They used to come to a place like this and they just lived here. And they figured out how to live it. So I
yeah,
quite liked
most of them died of starvation, but they had.
yeah,
a
that's it, mate. Or, you know, they got a splinter
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
and then 2
Died
days
of
later, their
septicemia.
arm was like this big, you know, and they died of gangrene laying in the mud. Yeah, that's right. It wasn't a particularly, something like on the Oregon Trail, it was like 90% of people didn't make it. When they went, you know, they just went, there was whole in the last frontier towns. There was this whole industry set up where you would write the letter to the people, if you get this, I'm not around, and it was the busiest shop in town.
Yeah, well, I've been reading a book that I bought when I was down in Tassie, which was about some of the young 7-year-olds that were convicted for stealing a loaf of bread and shipped off and down to well, they were shipped to wherever they were shipped to, and then the repeat offenders ended up down in Tassie. But they were talking about how they sent the first boats around the world to colonize new places, and almost 100% of them died. They just died of starvation. They couldn't, and this is what got around the boat when they were on their way, and they were trying to keep everyone calm because people thought they were being sent to their deaths because no other settlement boat had survived past a certain amount of time. Which I thought was pretty interesting, but man, it'd be tough going. So, rock, paper, or scissors, fellas?
Well, have you been to Port Arthur?
Not getting any players.
I
went down there.
Well, there's that kids island, which was the kids prison island, and they had a sawmill, and 20 kids died every day at that sawmill. That whole island's just the graveyard for kids who were either the criminals themselves or the children of criminals who ended up on that saw pit island over there in the bay where they just died literally like flies.
The whole thing's a cemetery now.
That's right. That whole island's a cemetery.
Crazy.
Okay, rock, paper, scissors.
How do you play this game?
Was this 1, 2, 3?
1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah, so I like that. 1, 2, 3, show. Okay. It's 1, 2, 3, show.
Okay. Are we ready?
Okay.
Okay, ready? Go.
1, 2, 3, go. Well, okay, boys.
Out. It's
you
just
guys
me.
That's it.
Why did it end up? Why did we go 1, 2, 3 show, and then eventually we just slowed down to nothing? I have to speed that up in the edit. Okay, ready? You ready, Jono? This is for a line. Ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Oh wait, stop! You're out of time. Okay. Ready?
1, 2,
3, show. Jono's going to alone.
I'm going alone.
That's fantastic. ChatGPT will help you write. Let Joe know. I'll let Joe know if you don't.
Okay. Help me write my.
I want to see this application go in.
For Alone Australia.
Alone.
Excellent.
ChatGPT is nothing me.
We'll add it to the next podcast. See how you're going.
So ChatGPT said, "Hell yes, great choice."
Excellent.
It's like Alone Australia applications are brutal in a good way. They're looking for competence, mental grit, and a story that feels real, not Instagram survival cosplay.
You're in trouble.
But hell yes, great choice is what ChatGPT just told me.
You have to make up some story about you surviving 2 years on the veldt, eating ant and spearing buffalo and stuff.
So it says step 3, I need a few details from you. It says answer these in dot points. Rough is fine. I'll turn them into polished application answers. What is your outdoor background? Hunting? ? Fishing? ? I've got all of those.
All of them.
Yeah, exactly.
This is. You gotta be careful though. You won't get selected because they don't want you to be there forever.
That's right.
That's why I get that. That's my theory on why they don't just get a whole bunch of hunters in there. They get a hunter, and then they get a whole bunch of weird hippies. Yeah. And some really uncoordinated people that hurt themselves. And eventually, about 3 weeks into it, you're down to the people that are going to be in the top 5. And then they just duke it out for ages. Half of them miss their families too much and sook it out. I say this now because I'm not going. It's Jono, and I won't be the one that's being looked at. So I look forward to supporting you on your journey. I'm glad we had this chat. Excellent.
We'll buy you an act.
We'll brand it. Man, imagine the friends at the Hunters Campfire that will kit you out, my friend.
Yeah, we'll get you a Swedish axe, and we'll send it down to Byron, and he can burn the Hunters Campfire into it.
That'll be good.
All right,
cool.
We need everyone's peer pressure support to be loaded in on this episode. Right. There's no backing out of this application. You may back out of accepting. Imagine if you get.
If you get it,
that'd be the best.
If you get it, we'll accept it. If you don't want to go, but that's it.
His boss might not let him go, but
we'll accept
his wife
that.
will let him go.
What's the
Adam will let you go.
His boss would love it. It'd be great publicity for the company.
If you win the $250,000, you know you got to split it 3 ways. This is a Hunter's Campfire business venture.
Oh, okay. So it goes into the business account, does it? So,
Totally.
That's right. Consolidated
Okay.
revenue, my friend.
I'll
Consolidated
buy you
revenue.
some Krispy Kremes when you get out. Can I be the guy that shows up to tell you you've won? I want to be that guy.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
If you want to come on that trip, that'd be fun.
I'll be the camera. I'll be giving the camera crew some directions.
We already know that as soon as Mark gets there to tell you you've won, he's going to hit the button and want to go home.
That's right. No, I'm just going to, from the helicopter, I'm just going to have a loud hour. Mate, you won. Get over here.
All right. Well, on my list of things, I've crossed out Muntjac, I've crossed out politics, I've crossed out Heirlooms, and I've not crossed out Alone Australia because I'm going to move it forward to the agenda for every podcast now to see.
Okay. So that's it. We're on. So okay. So I need to ask co-pilot.
So
when
glad I didn't win.
Is Alone Australia applications closing? Thinking Sunday, 20 April. Well, actually, that says 2025.
Plenty of time to polish this application up. Okay,
no, that says Sunday, April 2025 for. So we're gonna have to go because they're filming for 2026 now. So we have to find out when the next one is because
we'll get
the one
there.
He'll be going in.
And we'll find it. Cool. I'm going
to
to
follow. Okay. Do we want to move to the greatest hunt ever story?
Why not? We can do that.
I think so.
This will be the last one before we choose the first book winner.
Oh, okay. Am I ever going to see my book?
Are you going to come pick it up? It's unlikely.
Well, it's going to make me hard to do a review for it, but I suppose I could ask co-pilot.
Yes, we'll sort that out. All right, into it.
So, okay, I'm reading The Greatest Hunt Ever from a little gent by the name of Brian Boyle.
Boily Shuffle.
The Boily Shuffle. I better get this so I can see this. Okay, here we go. Brian Boyle. I wasn't hunting that afternoon. I was sitting in the cold concrete steps of a basketball court in Alexandra. Know where that is? Is that New Zealand?
Alexandra? Isn't that a suburb down in Sydney?
Maybe it is. Winter light already fading, watching my two girls, should say that. Sorry, Brian. His girls. Better clear that up. My two girls playing basketball on polished timber. Boots and rifles were the furthest thing from my mind when my good mate Ron pulled up. He walked over, still smelling of bush and on a sweat, and told me quietly that he'd shot a sambar stag. He had run off hard. He showed me where he recovered from the shot, fragments of bone and a bit of soft tissue he thought was lung, which this guy brought to the local basketball court. Lung shot. Can't find him. Wouldn't have gone far. Can you grab Charlie and give us a hand? I shook my head. No, mate, that's bone marrow. I told him I had to get the girls home first, but as soon as I could, I'd bring Charlie. He nodded. He knew what that meant. By the time I dropped the kids off and made it to Ron's place, the light was gone. Proper winter dark. We drove out to the block together. Ron, his mate, and me, and Charlie, my little Jack Russell Foxy Cross. We'd shot more than a few sambar with Charlie over the 13 years we'd hunted together. He was small, tough, and an honest little bugger in the bush and on the trail. At the shot site, there was blood and bone fragments sprayed across the ground. Not a puddle, a spray. But then it was 7:20 p.m., overcast and pitch black. Ron and his mate had brought powerful handheld torches and their rifles. I had Charlie and a headlamp. Charlie dropped his nose and went to work. About 120 metres in, Charlie stopped and looked uphill. I followed his line, and in the beam of my headlamp I saw him, the stag, standing broadside, maybe 50 metres away, a solid animal at about 26-inch head. He was watching me. I turned to get Ron and his mate, but they weren't there. They were another 50 feet, still studying blood on the ground. I hissed and waved and tried to draw them up quietly. Too late. The stag had turned and vanished uphill, ghosting into the timber. And so began one of the trickiest tracks and best hunts of my life. For the next couple of hours, Charlie and I followed that animal through a puzzle of country that only made sense to the deer. The stag ran a big figure-8 pattern, up into the bush, sliding around the slope, dropping into a gully, crossing under a fence where a creek cut through, then breaking out onto open farmland. He made a long semicircle at the same height along the gully, conserving energy, then turned back again. We followed him back under the fence. Drips of blood marked his way. Charlie never left the line. About 2.5 hours in, something just clicked. I'd hunted this country many, many times and started understanding exactly what the stag was doing and where he was heading. I began cutting ahead through saddles and pinch points, picking him up again on the other side. I wasn't just following sign anymore. I was thinking like the deer. You can't beat local knowledge, and the deer had his understanding of the country, but I had mine. And that night we were colliding, and Charlie was backing me up, finding the odd drop of blood or solid prints. About 3.5 hours in, Ron and his mate, who'd already hunted all day, were lagging behind. I took Ron's blazer in 375 and kept going with Charlie. At one point, the stag had jumped a log. On the far side was another spray of blood and more bone. I remember thinking, Jesus, this animal is tough. At around 12:20 a.m., I finally caught him up. The beam of the headlamp found the stag standing just 10 meters away in some dogwoods, wobbling, spent. He had nothing left. I put one careful shot into his neck and he went down. When I walked up, the story of the hunt finally made sense. Ron had thought the stag was facing or angling towards him when he fired, but the bullet had clipped and broken the right front leg, torn out the bottom of the brisket, and shattered the back left femur. The animal had been running for over 4 hours on 2 legs. It was extraordinary resilience. We all know Sambar are hellishly tough, but this was next level shit. The boys heard the shot, and a few QEs later, they eventually caught up to Charlie and me. We cleaned the animal, and about 10 minutes into it, the sky opened up. Absolute buckets. Lightning cracked and the rain hammered down on us, the carcass and the ground alike. We carried the head and meat out into the pouring rain, soaked through, laughing at the timing of it. I remember thinking that if we hadn't finished him that night, the next day would have been a real challenge. He probably might not have found him at all, or if we had, he may only have been a smelly carcass a few days later. Alexandra country is open eucalyptus and sparse feed underneath. Sambar here have to keep moving into the green gullies to survive. That night, though, we earned him, and he earned our respect. It remained one of the greatest hunts I've ever been part of. Not because I took the first shot or the size of the head, but because of the tracking, the dog, the night, the country, and the sheer stubborn will of the animal itself. Some hunts stay with you because of the kill. Others stay with you because of everything that had to happen for it.
That's a great story. What a great story. Now, I don't think Alexandra is a suburb of Sydney.
Alexandra.
No, I googled that one and it's like literally in the city, so I don't think
Alexandra.
so.
Alexandra.
It's going to be in Vic. It's going to be in Vic somewhere.
Alexandra.
Awesome. Good job, Boyley. All right.
Great story.
Well written.
Alexandra is a town in Victoria.
We even have a photo. We even have what looks like a
26-inch Sambar, by any chance?
No, it looks like a old Remington, an old Ruger paddle tail.
I thought you said it was a blazer.
Yeah, maybe this is not the same from that hunt. It might just be a photo of Charlie. That looks like those Rugers they made. They can call them paddle tails. They're a synthetic stock. Looks like one of them.
The thin ones, the thin stock,
yeah,
the little hollow out the midline.
As you call them, canoe paddles and all stuff. Yeah, that's kind of looks like one of them. Yeah, looks like anyway. There we go. Hard to tell, but it kind of looks like a Ruger. Maybe it is a blazer, but it looks Ruger-like to me. So we have a photo. There we go. So we'll even add that in there during the reading.
Should do.
There we go.
Great story. Fantastic. Well done, Boyley.
Well done, Boyley. All right. Last thing I wanted to cover off on, this is again based on listener feedback. madly trying to find it, but I couldn't. But the general gist of it, there are quite a few, this time of year, there's always quite a few new hunters that poke their heads up and start looking for advice, because we are 8 weeks away from the rut.
Fast approaching.
Holy dooly. It's not far away. So I just wanted to go round the grounds and maybe offer a bit of advice to new hunters that are looking to get into public land hunting, not necessarily spots, but approaches. If you were talking to a new hunter that was about to go out and have a go at their first state forest hunts, what would some things that you would suggest that they consider in the planning of and in the hunting of, Jono?
I think doing research, listening to podcasts, listening to people who've been doing it for a while. You know, we've put out some great podcasts on public land hunting, state forest hunting, especially Nundle, and surrounding Hanging Rock and surrounding forests. I think, get some advice and then do your own research, like eScout. Look at the maps, look at that forest is constantly changing. Look at Google Earth, jump on, explore. Take what people have said around finding, those borders between the native timber and the forestry, and look for them on the map. Just try and find some areas and then get in there. I think that's important, is to have some spots in mind, head in there, and then just go and have a look. Make sure the wind's in your favor. I think that's important. That's the most important thing I'm trying to teach my son. When we go out, he's like, "Oh, let's go this way," and I was like, "Well, which way is the wind blowing?" "Oh, okay, let's go this way." And with him, the one afternoon, I let him choose which way to go, and we went completely the wrong way with the wind, and we didn't see any animals. And then we sat down afterwards, and I explained to him exactly what went wrong, and that was simply because the wind was wrong. We just went in the wrong direction. I think, get some basic understanding of where to go, do some research, and then just get out there. For me, I think you put the effort in, you're going to eventually see some animals. And if it doesn't work, try and understand why it didn't work. Was the wind wrong? Were you in the wrong area? Was it too wet? Was it too dry? All those little things piece together, and eventually they all just come together and you work it out. That's my advice.
Yeah, I'm still contemplating.
Well, if you'd like to contemplate, I'll add a bit to Jono's.
Yeah, you go ahead. I'm processing. Copilot hasn't answered yet. Come on.
I can't answer those questions for you.
That's what I can't answer those questions.
We're anti-hunting.
Actually,
on the e-scouting thing, there's lots of ways to find information. You may as well start with the harvest return reports. That stuff is freely available on the websites, and you can see with reasonable accuracy what parks to go to that are producing animals. I'm not saying there's no point in going to parks that don't record animals being produced, because some of them are in the middle of nowhere and people just don't travel to them. They've probably still got stuff in them and they're worth exploring if they're around you. But if you want to hunt goats, just go and look at the goat column on the harvest return thing, and you will see the 50 parks that are, every month harvesting goats or deer or pigs or whatever. So that's a good way to start. When you're hunting deer, it's no secret that they like to feed on recently cleared logging country. Right, so the loggers will come through, they'll log that out, they'll burn it off, and then regrowth will come through. Once they're finished in there, those spots are pretty good hot spots. It doesn't really matter where in the park they are. The deer are going to browse on that fresh pick, and you'll notice that within a couple of days of them browsing it, they'll be back to browse it again, and they'll be back to browse it again. If they've had sunlight on it, it's going to grow back, and it's going to be good pick. So habitat's really important, and that's one way of finding it. You can do more research by going to your local forest, potentially talking to some forestry people. There are reports that get put out on websites that tell you when they're planning on harvesting things. There are exclusion zones that go up. You can make some reasonable assumptions as to why, especially if you're close enough to go and have a look, and start to plan out some of your hunting trips based on what's being harvested and what ground's being opened up for you as well. So there's lots of ways of doing that. So it's worth figuring that stuff out. And I'm sure there's lots of other pockets of information as well. So that's just on the e-scouting side. If you are in an area that isn't, just about all of it's forestry, I think, whether it's pine or eucalypt harvesting or anything like that. But regardless of that, there's always going to be good quality feed down by the creeks, and it's worth getting into the bottom of some of these gullies. Not for the reason you think. A lot of people think that they want to go and hunt the creek lines because that's where the deer are going to go and drink. It's not really the reason that they're down there. Most of the moisture that the deer need comes from the food that they eat, and the food that they eat is often near the creeks, and it's got a lot of moisture in it, and that's how they hydrate. So down along those creek lines, you're going to find clovers and different types of grasses that the deer are going to eat. So that's why that sort of area is really good. I also think it's a good idea, if you're lucky enough to shoot a deer at certain times of the year, build a stomach open, especially the area before the food gets pushed down into the intestines. It's going to tell you what they're eating. You'll know what time of year they're eating lantana berries. You'll know what time of year they're eating certain types of food, and you can sort of start to form a picture as to what type of browse the deer are eating, and therefore you know what kind of stuff to go and look for. So there's a couple of those little things that I think, but it all comes down to pre-scouting and gathering that information and getting out there and have a crack. That's a couple of tips from me.
Okay. So I agree totally with all of that. The e-scouting, understanding the park before you get there, picking a park that has a better ratio is a great idea. Yes, there is some parks that are very, have a lot of game, or people talk about it, but they don't go there. So, but, go for the odds on. When you're on the ground, apply your basic hunting principles, which is, what's the wind doing? How are you moving? If you're doing 20K forced marches to find deer and you're not finding them, you're probably spending more time marching than you are probably hunting. You shouldn't measure your hunt in kilometers. You should measure them in animals you see. In terms of locating animals, sign is everything. So, obviously the best sign is there's a deer. That's a good sign. But, scat, rubs, prints, beds, the more of these things that you can locate, it's kind of more, it's like, you're building a picture. So if you see a print, that means deer have been around. You see prints and you see scat, that's it. You see prints and you see scat, you see rubs, you go, oh, okay, I'm starting. So you build a picture from those little snippets of information. So you want to, it's not just one piece of information will give you something, but you want to grab as many pieces of information you can. So I'm always looking, what's on the ground, what's around me. I want to know that, I want to try and build a picture of the deer activity in that area. That being said, if you are a new hunter, and I've said this to a couple of people, and especially people we hunt with, go shoot a hell of a lot of goats.
Mm-hmm. It's good fun.
Deer are hard. They're smart. They're not easy to hunt. Go shoot a lot of goats. You'll learn a truckload. The best way to learn about hunting is to hunt. And if you're got your mind set on having a deer and you're not getting any deer and you're spending a lot of time and you're getting frustrated, that's not actually doing you any good. Go shoot some pigs. Go shoot some goats. Goats give you an insight into deer because they're a herd animal. So, especially fallow, you get understandings. You get understandings about, how they feed, how they water. Pigs tell you about shot placement. That's what they tell you about. They live different lives to deer and goats, but they tell you about shot placement. You shoot a few pigs, you understand, okay, this is how this rifle works. This is what shot placement's all about. You shoot a few goats, you go, okay, this is how a herd animal works. All of those things make you a better hunter, but you need to give yourself the experience. And I've met too many guys who kind of go, I've got to get a deer, and they pass up all this other stuff. Don't do that. If you build up the skill set, you'll mature to a deer hunter. Or if like me, you'll just be a frustrated pig hunter for the rest of your life. But
goat meat tastes good.
Yes, goat
forget
meat
the smelly.
tastes
Forget the smelly bark.
Look,
young nanny, beautiful meat. Beautiful.
I think I shot Severn for 10 years straight.
Go back.
That's it. It's a great spot.
I heard it's booked out.
So much about how a rifle performs, how to be quiet, how to listen, all of those things. I learned in Severn. The hunting skills that I have came from the incubator that was Severn. And that's, you And I got that because there was a forest that was, less than 4 hours away, had game. I could go down there anytime I had a spare minute, hunt a day, hunt a week, whatever it was. But I got down there and I hunted, and I just started to get better. So maybe this year, plan to shoot a lot of goats and then work your way up. You'll probably find you have a lot more success.
Awesome. Well, I'll add a little bit to that. I like the don't measure in kilometres. Don't measure your hunt based on the kilometres walked. Measure it, I think, on time spent. There's no secret when the fellas that have come to our hunt camps over the years, we've shown them how to find habitat, the things that Mark talked about a minute ago. There's browse, there's rubs, there's scat, there's all of the things that indicates that there's stuff going on there, right? And at that point in time, we've managed to get them in elevation up above the deer. That's something I heard somewhere recently this week. Deer struggle to look up. And I hadn't heard that before, and I heard it somewhere today. Anyway, deer struggle to look up. So the suggestion is that you should be above them, looking down to where you think they're going to be coming from, which is what we recommend the team that come to hunt camp do. They go up a terrace layer from where they see the beds and the tracks where the deer are walking, and they take a comfortable chair and they take comfortable clothes, because it's usually cold, and they sit there and they can see 100 meters up that way and 100 meters up that way and 100 meters over the gully. So they've got a big arc and they know there's habitat. So the deer are going to come through. They may not come through today. They might come through tomorrow. Most likely they're going to come through between you leaving and coming back again. But hopefully at some point in time, you'll be there when they're there and you'll get to put the shot on them. And you would have ranged everything and you would have known your distances and you would have anticipated it. And you'll be shaking like shit when it actually happens if it's your first animal. But that's okay. At least you're there. And again, to Mark's point, don't measure it in Ks. Time spent in the bush looking over habitat, you're going to win. Some of these guys come back every year and go back to the exact same spot they got their first deer, and they shoot their second, their third, their fourth deer in exactly the same place, looking over the same country. So there's method to that, although many of us are very impatient. I'm an impatient sitter. It drives me mad sitting down in one spot for ages, but I got to learn. Anyway, that's a good tip for State Forest. The other one that I would put in there is be prepared for all weather. It's not like going to New Zealand or maybe going Vic High Country or something like that in a lot of these places, but I've been this summer into what I would have thought were pretty hot places, and I've been really bloody cold at night time. Or I've got wet, it's rained, it's stormed, it's something, the winds come up and you get really cold. Don't go to these places in summer and not think you're going to get cold, because you probably will. And vice versa, if you're going in winter, you can have some steamy days as well. So just make sure that you go prepared for everything. Most of the time, you're not going to be too far from the truck. A lot of these walkouts are walk from camp, walk back to camp, or drive your vehicle, stop, walk a few Ks. You can always come back to it. So you don't have to carry it everywhere, but, make sure that you don't ruin your trip by having to shiver all night long if you're cold. Other than that, just go do it. It's bloody awesome.
Do it.
Get out there.
So,
awesome.
as I said, if you got a weekend, go shoot some goats, go hunt some goats, go hunt some pigs, go check out some rabbits, do something, hunt. The best way to be a better hunter is to do more hunting.
Yeah. Well, I plan on doing more goat hunting this year. I have succession planning for just in case they don't give me my citizenship and I have to handle my guns back. Here is my Hoyt Satori that has been plinking away 100 arrows a day in target practice. Looking forward to going and slaying some beasts with that. Should be fun.
Nice. Very nice.
That's it from me.
That's it from me.
Cool. You know what time it is?
Don't forget your encouragement for Jono for Alone Australia 2026.
Stay curious.
Rightio, that's a wrap from the team at the Hunters Campfire. We hope you had a laugh, learned something useful, or at least were a little bit entertained. And you feel a little bit more pumped up for your next hunting, shooting, or outdoor misadventure. As always, a massive thanks for the support from our friends at SSAA and Beretta Australia. Whether you're out there chasing game, telling lies to your mates around the fire, or just trying to remember where you left your boots. Stay wild, stay curious, and for the love of all things blaze, stay safe, so we can see you back around the fire next time.